Greg, welcome to the first ever show of I guess we'll call it a show, mini series, mini podcast, calling it Lunch Tips with Leaders. Greg Baumann from Outreach. Give us a quick walkthrough about your journey, how you got to a sales leadership role, the role that you have at Outreach.
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks for having me. This is really exciting. So I lead our enterprise sales team at Outreach that's responsible for our largest non-strategic customers. This is my second quarter doing that. Prior to that, I was on our strategic accounts team working with our largest customers around the world. And I've been at Outreach going on 4 years now. Prior to that, I was at MarTech. I was at a company called Sitecore doing web content management. I was at Oracle Marketing Cloud before that, and started my career at FIS SunGard. So for me, it was a lot of time as an IC. Had some really exciting successes, obviously learned a lot, had some failures along the way too, and really saw an opportunity to move into leadership last year and was lucky enough to have the chance to make that move. So it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed the change thus far. It's a whole new whole new everything, whole new ball game, but it's been great.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that you had jumped so recently.
Yeah.
So biggest unknown going into it, and then did that pan out to be the actual biggest unknown?
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I think the pace of the role is so much different than I thought it would be.
Okay.
I was speaking with a mentor of mine recently, and I told him, I was like, when I was an AE, and I think a lot of what made me a successful AE is everything was urgent. Right. If I get an email, I'm always operated in box zero. I've got a single email that's unopened in my inbox right now. It's just perpetual, right? Even if it's a 12, 13, 14-hour day, you got to clear it out. So for me, everything that comes across the finish line, like it comes across my plate, I act on it immediately, right? And then when you don't have anything to do, if it's like 3 p.m. on a Friday, you can be like, okay, I think I'm going to be done for the day, right? And then if you get an email at 6 p.m. on Friday, you're back at it for a little bit. Now, there's a lot less urgency. Things are a lot less urgent in a leader role. I'm able to see things, I think, with a little bit longer of a horizon because my customers are internal now, right? But there's always something to do. So the frenetic pace has changed, but I think like the to-do list has gotten significantly deeper.
So being in that seat, seeing the longer time horizon, has that changed how you coach your team?
Well, I think it has a little bit. It's given me a bit of a yearning for that like immediacy of the role, and so I'm continuously encouraging my team in that. If you have an opportunity for action, take the opportunity for action, right? I think action wins. I think confidence wins. I think intimacy with the customer wins. And if you're able to do all of those things, you'll get to your 10,000 hours faster. If you can complete 12 revenue positive tasks in a day instead of 8, you're going to have a more successful week. If you have more and more successful weeks, that'll add up to months, quarters, years, right?
It's compounding effect.
It's a significant compounding effect. Yeah. So I kind of yearn for that compounding effect of being able to act with immediacy and crunch your effectiveness. Now I think in a leader role, I'm looking to make sure that each action I'm taking is stable enough to be, effective over time. So yeah, a little bit different.
All right. So the core premise of this little mini show is some tips that you would give to AEs, SDRs, people that want to jump into a leadership role. I know you and I had dinner in New York, and we were seated at a table with a young candidate that was looking for similar tips. But if you're going into, you're at dinner, somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, what's your tip for me? I'm just starting out. I'm an AE or I'm an SDR, and I want to create this career in sales and tech."
Fantastic question. And that was a fun dinner. We should do that more often. It was great. For me, there's something that I always am coaching people towards, and that is like an attitude for action, right? And I mean, you've seen this as a sales leader, like there's no just replacement for being able to take things into action. And so this is a little bit of recency bias for myself. Currently, we're at the start of our fiscal year. We're at the start of a lot of people's fiscal year and calendar year. So a lot of what's going on in my world and my team, the people I'm coaching, is their account plans, right? So what do I have to do in my accounts this year to make them successful, to take positive revenue motion within my accounts? And so for me, one of the things that I'm coaching people towards is your account plans have to be an action plan. I've seen people in my career really lean into being an analyst role, right? the word analyst is never in a sales role. Not that I've seen. There's usually the word executive, which is what the word execute. There's usually the word director, which is, the verb for direct. There's the word manager, which is to manage. So these are really action positive words. And then they show me something that looks like it's a 25-page McKinsey deck, and it's not getting them any closer to serving their customers or understanding their needs. So I think for me, what I'm really coaching my people to, and what I tell people that are earlier on in their career looking to be successful in sales, is find ways to take action, because it'll be really important if you're trying to get multi-threaded, if you're trying to get more than one story or opportunity or person involved. That level of action becomes that much more critical.
And so are you saying for those team members that are potentially over-analyzing, are they spending too much time? What's the saying, that perfection's getting in the way of action, or perfection's getting in the way of good or better?
Yeah. I think there's an element of that, like the good being the enemy of the great, right? And so what I've found is, especially with like the rise of ChatGPT and Gemini and all of these different like large language models and chatbots, it makes it really easy to get to a level of comfort into what's happening with your company's business, with your company's revenue. How are they thinking about how they make money? How are they thinking about how they protect their losses? How are they thinking about how they serve their customers? And so it doesn't require like a 120-page deep dive into their 10K in the same way as you can find a couple of those key moments. What are those? Like for us at Outreach, we think a lot about those revenue moments. What are their revenue moments that they're looking for? What are the goals? Do they have top line goals? Are they looking to scale? Are they looking to increase their, revenue per employee? And so being able to pull those things together, and when you find those, what's the so what, right? So can we get the so what from that? All right, we read that Alex is trying to increase his revenue per employee. I know that we can help with that, and we've got messaging around that. And there are actually people within the organization who can truly speak to that and truly understand that. How do I put them into play here to make sure that we can align to that interest?
Yeah, I like that. All right, last question, because we're going to keep these short.
Sure.
You just jumped into a leadership role recently. What made you want to do that? What was that drive?
I've always had a passion for coaching, for mentoring. A friend of mine called me a revenue mechanic recently, which I was really sort of honored by. I've got a passion for just seeing, how do businesses make money? How do teams excel? What can we do to increase performance? What can we do to accomplish something together? And so for me, that was a big part of my move to leadership, is hopefully share some of my learnings, make sure that we're working to the same thing, distilling messages, distilling missions, and taking action on them. So I think to me, that was something I was really excited about, the opportunity directly in front of me. For my career in general too, I know that I want to be like leading revenue teams in the future, and you can't, I've not seen it done where you go directly from an individual contributor role to that. So you got to make that move at some point. But yeah, I think the opportunity to lead and be a part of coaching and mentoring and bringing people's best selves to their work was exciting to me.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you joining me for the conversation, and hopefully for those that are watching, if you enjoyed it, follow along. We're going to do these on a weekly basis where we'll have a quick conversation with a leader in the industry, not necessarily a sales leader, but a leader, and share some tips and some tricks as to how you get to be in their seat one day. So awesome.
I love it.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Alex.